Now, this is actually a bit of an uncomfortable conversation that I think a lot of people might be kind of triggered having. That said, this is actually a topic I've gone into in much more length on my YouTube channel. If you look up Biker Witch 666, that's witch with two V's, VVITCH. I believe the video is actually called Should You Go to Art School? If you shoot me a message, I'll actually get you the link for it. Basically though, for me, growing up, I knew a lot of people, the adults in my life around me were miserable. Most of the men in my family drove trucks, worked in construction, and most of the women in my family worked slaving in hot kitchens. And for a long time as a teenager, I thought that that was the inevitability of my life. Until I met my friend's father, an older tattoo artist in his 50s, and one of the only adults that I knew that seemed genuinely happy in his life. At this point in my life, I had been really struggling with depression, and on at least one occasion had actually tried to act on these feelings. My home life was definitely not ideal. A lot of drugs and mental illness and not a lot of positive role models. As I had said in the previous video, I ended up homeless. For me, I had already decided that if life wasn't going to work out to which I could be happy and feel fulfilled, I just wasn't going to do it, and I was basically going to try again next reincarnation. If you can read between the lines on what I mean there. So for me, taking out insane loans to go to art school wasn't really that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, I knew that I had a pact with myself. At the time, I had just first started dabbling in kind of witchcraft and the occult and spirituality and those sorts of things, so this took on a bit of a burn the boats spiritual ritual aspect to me, that I was staking myself on this. And the stakes just made it even more real. I think the circumstances that I was in, coupled with my own personal psychology, that's not typical of most people. And I'm not trying to glorify it. There's definitely huge negatives that come with this way of thinking. Like I said, there's a lot of mental illness in my family background, and probably a lot of this is coming from an iteration of that. I just happen to put in a lot of spiritual and mental work over the years to kind of turn it on its head and make it work for me. That said though, I think you need to examine your life, your way of thinking, the kind of risk that you're comfortable with making, and then basically from there decide whether or not this is something you want to do. You have to think about what motivates you as a person. What are your ultimate goals? I apologize if I'm not able to give you some black and white answer. But you are an individual, and I think you need to do some soul searching to figure out whether or not this move or that move is the correct one for you personally. Do let me know if you have any more questions though. I'd be happy to answer them in any way I can. Hope you're well.